Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio. Elevate your franchise with Franchise Now. We tell your brand story on our radio podcast and boost it with powerful content marketing strategies. From blogs and videos to infographics and more, we enhance your brand's SEO and online visibility. Let Franchise Now help your franchise stand out in a crowded market. Visit us today and learn more to start your journey for greater visibility and success. And now, here's your host.
Welcome back to another episode of Franchise Marketing Radio, where we explore the innovative world of franchising, business ownership, and the marketing strategies that make it all happen. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just curious about the franchise world, this is the place to hear firsthand stories from the industry's best. And today is no different. I have an exciting guest. I always say that, but I love CEOs. I love founders. I love guys that make the world change. And I have a guy with me today. His name is Jason Markowicz. He is the CEO and co-founder and CEO of Fitness Premier. They're a 24/7 club model. We're going to get into that a little bit. Jason, welcome to the show. It's great to have you today.
Rob, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
That is. It's great. It's great to talk franchising. I'm glad I get to do this for part of my job anyway, to talk about all the different stuff. That was one of my biggest challenges when I first started was in franchising was I didn't know what brand or what industry to get into and be focused on. It was just all cool. So now I figured out I could just talk to all you guys about all the things you do, and it's always interesting. So we're going to talk about fitness concepts today, and that is a huge, huge sector of the franchise industry. Lots of cool brands, lots of iconic brands, but it's a lot of smart business model discussion I find when I talk to fitness brands. So, but tell me, how did you wind up here? I know you've been in the business for a while with other brands. Tell me a little bit about the story of Fitness Premier.
Yeah, we've been at it about 22, 23 years now. So I fell into a pretty unique opportunity out of college. I grew up an athlete, played college football. And long story short, had a college football teammate that had a cousin that was opening up a health club in the Chicagoland area close to where I live, and got an opportunity to kind of get in and learn the business and just start from the ground up, really. Started cleaning and training and just learned the business from the inside out. So spent a couple of years doing that, and about 2 years into it, it was a unique business back then where the co-founder of that concept wanted an operating partner. So he would finance it and look for operating partners to run the day-to-day. So I found myself a 23-year-old kid that owned a gym in the south end of Chicago. So that's kind of where I got my first jab at entrepreneurship. So from there
Well, I got to say though, but my son he's a runner. And he's a college athlete. He's a senior this year. And I always tell him, I'm like, just doing that, just being a college athlete makes you different than everybody else. I say that about the military as well. But I just love the ethic, the work ethic, the clarity. So when you say I was a college football player, I'm sorry, but that's not a small thing. And yeah, you were only 22, but you had some of that DNA. But tell me a little bit about that journey at 22. How did you move forward? What were you thinking then? Did you think you'd be where you are today? Like, how did that unfold?
Yeah, we just, we had such an excitement and passion for it. Like, just love fitness, sports, team. And, like you said, like in our company today, we target a lot of former athletes and military. And we find that there's a lot of synergy between what they understand about teamwork and working with others and how to fail and how to move forward, how to collaborate, how to work hard, just the daily discipline of life, right? That makes you successful. There's a lot of transcendent skills that transcend into business ownership. So for me back then, I knew none of that, right? So I was just in there getting experience and just working hard. And fortunately, we were able to have some success early on. And then we had some quick failures and learned a ton. And, I call it the doctorate of really probably fitness and franchising at this point, 25 years later. But it's been a hell of a ride, a lot of ups and downs and learnings and all that. And I'm excited to share that with you today.
Yeah. So, let's face it, fitness is a very, it's a never ending growth industry, but also very competitive. So tell me a little bit about, just from a high level, what makes the brand unique? What's your position when you're communicating? What's different about you guys?
Yeah, today it's, we like to live in markets that, we feel they're a little bit harder to find and penetrate. So our model does really well in what you would maybe classify as a tertiary or almost small town USA, right? Where it's a little bit more strategic in the way we think about site selection. And that's through years and years of competing in more suburban or urban markets, right? With a lot of competitors. So we did that for a long time, and we still do that in many of our markets. We feel like we do have differentiators in a business model, but from a site selection and real estate standpoint, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit opportunities in a lot of smaller markets that are typically underserved when it comes to fitness. So we like those type of immediate opportunities at a high level. And then, when you get into the business model, fitness is interesting because it's not everybody can buy the same stuff, right? It's just what color is your stuff, what brand identity do you have? So we really try to put a lot of focus on having all the high quality equipment that a lot of the other competitors in the market have. And then we focus a lot of our energy on the people and the training, the process around what makes the location unique, right? And usually that's the people within the box.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a feeling. Well, and I talk to you guys a lot in the fitness industry. Well, maybe it's been lately. I don't know, a couple of interviews, but I feel like for me, like looking at as a consumer, right? I feel like the environment of a gym is important to someone's life, right? Not only to how it makes you feel health wise or how it makes you look. It's also the environment of going somewhere regularly and people knowing you and building rapport and relationships with people. So I really feel like, especially with, and I'm going to kind of tee this up as what you think, but as the visionary and the CEO of this kind of a brand, but I feel like it's important for communities. Like in the future, it'll be even more important, like that we have this human connection where we go places and interact. And the interaction is almost as important as what the thing we're doing is, right? And so paying attention to the experience people have, to me, it's like, what unique way can you do that? And it could probably be a lot of different ways. But do you agree with that? I feel like it's the feeling you leave with versus there's stuff there to get in shape. It's really like, how do I feel when I go to the gym? And what is it doing for my life? But is that kind of how you weave things into your brand and your thinking? Is that?
Yeah, 100%. It's a big part of it. You want to just we want to keep our members just coming back for one more workout, right? Making sure they leave feeling good. So, the way we think about simple things, right? Like knowing members by name and being that personalized service. And, with our new wellness areas that we have some relax and restore type of amenities, massage chair, sauna, cold plunge, where they feel good leaving, right? There's that euphoric feeling of you feel good when you leave, so you want to come back, and how you're treated when you're there. So some of those little touch points, I think of Chick-fil-A, right? I go to Chick-fil-A all the time because it's their pleasure to serve me. And it's something as simple as that one line that they do pretty consistently in every drive-through. That's like, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A for my chicken sandwich, and I'll seek it out. So, we try to weave little things in like that make it memorable and just, create a relationship at the end of the day with our customers.
That's funny you brought up Chick-fil-A because, there was a time where I would take my kids there a lot, and they're growing up now, so don't do it as much. But I just found myself always telling them, this is why they're so popular, like this little things they do, right? I'm trying not to put my business cap on, but it's funny. It's like those little things that they do consistently well, right? And that is sort of part of the franchise industry and the different models. It's like doing a lot of little things well. And that's what makes individual business ownership so challenging without a franchise brand. And it's always what I've seen. But tell me a little bit about, I think you guys have created an operating system. I know in franchising, for anyone who doesn't know, it's very structured in the sense that it's regulated. So you're given operation manuals and you're given resources and training, but some franchisors do more. They build on that. They know what you need. So tell me a little bit more about how you guys approach the entrepreneur operating system, if you will, or how you do that and train your franchisee.
Yeah, you bet. For us, it's, we started franchising based on having locations that we own and operate ourselves. So we kind of put our foot forward. We built and got locations up running and profitable and operated them for decades sometimes before we sold them off and converted them to franchise locations. In 2016 is when we started doing that. So for us, it really gave us, a lot of, and then we still have some locations that we operate, a lot of practical experience of what it takes to run a successful fitness center. So we really got a good understanding of that. So when it comes to training and developing our team, we do a lot of things that we think really enable them to have that kind of focus on leading and developing and driving revenue for the location. So from the back office support side, we do a lot when it comes to accounting and payables and some of those administrative tasks to take it off the franchisee's plate. We do a lot of things from a development standpoints, virtually and in our office when it comes to, weekly trainings and accountability, monthly masterminds. We do a lot of goal setting personally and professionally with franchisees, general managers, and really work with the team to make it, almost that team approach to winning, where we're in it with them, right? So we want to really understand what they're going through, have that two-way feedback loop so that we can, help problem solve and continue to move the business forward.
Yeah. So with branding, franchise brands are real focused on their branding as well, right? So branding, if you're not a marketing person, it really is the feeling, right? That when I think of your name or I look at your logo or I see your colors or experience your environment, it's a feeling, right? It's what you're about. It's like, yeah, I know what that's about. So obviously you put time into that and you think about that. And I know kind of what goes on behind the scenes as you bring people into the brand. But how do you balance that idea as a CEO? Because I know you probably notice everything, right? And so you have to balance, when do I make a change or let people have some sort of entrepreneurial freedom to be leaders, right? So like your franchisees probably come with a lot of experience. You said they're ex-athletes. They do understand following the system. But at the same time, they're probably guys that have, or women that have, good ideas and want to, and you also said there is a unique local quality to the brand as well. So how do you balance consistency with the brand with that unique local, I guess, flavor that the franchisee wants to bring?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's real common in franchising. And, we try to be very, flexible and thoughtful. And we really want to adapt to every community we're in, right? When it comes to penetrating a community, like we want to be sponsored a local high school, the boosters and the local football team and some of those things. So, you'll find some of that stuff kind of throughout our facilities. When it comes to just branding consistency, you can see the star logo that I'm wearing on my polo here. That's probably the biggest thing that you'll see throughout some of our marketing and some of our accent walls and things that we're really proud of. One of our focuses is to create more stars on the map. So when we think about a location, it's a new star on the map for us. When we think about a client losing 100 pounds in a location, that's a star that's been created. So we try to use that star in meaningful ways throughout. So from a branding perspective, that's probably the most meaningful. But for us, like that local opportunity to do things in the facility that make it special to that town is super important. Probably equally as important as just having a couple stars on the wall.
Right. And the star idea, though, I love that because that's what makes it applies. It's a filter that can apply across the board and still be consistent. Yeah. So the way you create stars could be somewhat unique, right? But it's still the idea that we create stars. And I just love that feeling. I love what you just said. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you're right. It would just create that momentum in different ways. It creates momentum with the members, momentum with the franchisee, momentum with people outside of your brand, like myself. Like, it's just the idea, like even when you look at your map, I know, because I have some clients, we have these find your advisor or find your location maps, right? And so the bigger your map gets with more stars, that's got to be a good thing just to look at, right?
Yep.
So,
well said.
Right. So tell me, here's a good question. It's kind of a different way to ask it, but what would you say would be the one common misconception, if you have one, that owning a fitness business that sometimes holds people back, or you find yourself talking to a franchisee saying, wait a minute, you're looking at it maybe the wrong way, or maybe it's a candidate, not so much a franchisee, because by then they probably are clear, but like a candidate, when they come in, is there a misconception you often have to go to and say, wait a minute, you're probably looking at this the wrong way?
Yeah. We'll see, the one thing about our industry is it's the barrier to entry is not huge, right? So a lot of times we see people that just love to exercise and love to work out. That's the next thing you know, they want to open a gym. And some do, right? Some got some family money and they say, I'm going to open a gym. And it's really not that easy, right? Like, we've been at it. We've opened a lot of locations over the years. We've bought locations. We've sold locations. So when it comes to, really operating this business for the long term, there's a lot underneath the hood that you have to understand to make it successful in the long run. So I would say, that's probably the biggest misconception is just because you're passionate about fitness, you enjoy exercising, doesn't necessarily mean you'll be you'll love operating a gym business. Now there's a lot of synergy. We have a lot of franchisees and operating partners that love to work out. That's how they found us, and they do love it. but there's a lot of substance, I guess, underneath the hood, right? That it comes to when it comes to accounting and marketing and some of the things that it takes to be a business owner. We try to put that stuff in a box to make it really easy for them to then be a business owner, that they can focus on why they got into it, which is fitness and people, right? So the fitness and people, they'll start a gym, but the stuff behind the hood that keeps it going sometimes is easily overlooked if you're not surrounded by a good system.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the key point, and I'll say it for almost any brand, if you understand what it's like day to day, then success is there. I don't think there's any brand that you could fail at if you actually executed well, right? Like, I mean, fail is a broad word. So it depends what your goal was. But my point is, I feel like, yeah, you're right. So like when you go through that process with someone, with a franchise brand. And a lot of people know from the industry, we have intermediaries called consultants or brokers, and their job is often to try to help you sort that out before talking to a guy like you, Jason. But ultimately, yeah, it's like, what is the day-to-day going to be like? What is the bigger impact I'm making? It's not just about my fitness anymore. It's about the community. And and what goes into partnering with other businesses, and there's other aspects of the model they probably aren't aware of, and they'll either fall in love with, or they'll say, that's not really me. I'm really introverted. I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, that's probably not great for a business owner in a community where it's a lot about communication, right? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's other ways to address different strengths and weaknesses, right? We know that. But anyway, great feedback, and I appreciate that. So the follow-up question I kind of have, and it's not really a follow-up, but it's getting into sort of what this looks like in terms of a business model. And I wanted to talk about technology a little bit. And I know that there's a lot of new technology on the horizon, like with AI and body wearables. And what are you thinking about? Like, what's on your mind right now in terms of your roadmap, in terms of how you think of technology? And I know it's not just, hey, let's just go get it because it's cool to say. It's more like, is it fitting in with the stars? Like you said, we're about making stars. So does that fit the bigger picture? But how do you fuse technology in? And tell me a little bit about the technology you do use.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely have a technology roadmap that we're actively engaged in and carving out. So, it's things to make sure that the seamless entry into the facilities, it's simple and easy for the members to understand. And it's, one app access instead of having 2 or 3 apps to be a member of our club. So we're focused on kind of streamlining that entire process. And then when a member does come on board, what does the tracking look like? We're finding that a lot of people already have their Garmin's or their Apple Watches, and that's really what they want to use to track their measurables. Where, 5 years ago, we had an outsourced third-party vendor that we were giving them a wearable to use for their heart rate monitor and that sort of stuff. And we found over time that the usage of our band went significantly down because a lot of consumers want to use what they use, right? Their Garmin watch. So we're working on technology that's going to be flexible to kind of meet the customer where they are. So they're not wearing 2 watches or have a band plus a watch. That doesn't, at the end of the day, make a ton of sense. So we're streamlining some things there. And then the last thing I guess I would add is, when it comes to, labor and staffing and automating things in the facility, we have a kiosk system that can, automate the sales process for us, facilitate a tour and orientating a guest with the facility in the event that, one of the managers is teaching a class maybe, and somebody comes in for a membership. That process is automated through our kiosk. We call that Kiosk Jimmy. So
yes, Jimmy. All right, cool. Awesome. Okay, that's more on the side of the members, right? Which I think is probably where a lot of the tech will dominate, and you'll be thinking about. Tell me a little bit about like the franchisees and the marketing side of things. How do you guys view that? From a digital marketing, let's just isolate that part, right? Because I know that gets into the techie stuff and Google, Facebook, social media, all these new things that you and I have grown up through. They didn't exist. Like, yeah, YouTube wasn't around when well before, I try to explain that to my kids. I'm like, it is evolved. But yeah, tell me a little bit of how you make decisions on where you emphasize, what boxes do we need to check on the digital marketing side for our franchisee? What do they need to be paying attention to?
Sure.
And focus? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a pretty robust co-op that we automate some of the digital marketing spend through to kind of keep it simple for the franchisees. I think the biggest coaching point that we work with our franchisees on is making sure you're really diligent and active with the organic message from your location specifically. So when you talk about like local branding and, supporting the high school or focusing on a member testimonial, some of that stuff that you can capture at the local level and then share with the community on your social media stuff in your town is probably the most impactful stuff that you can do. Spending money on Meta and some of those other channels, everybody else is doing. It's expensive to do over time. And we find some of our biggest reach is organic, just real people, real results, real stuff type of approach. So we probably put just as much focus on coaching on making sure that's super active, in addition to some of the AI-driven, digital marketing stuff. Like we do all that stuff, but we also are conscious where we don't want to, have our franchisees spending 20% of revenue on digital marketing, because we feel like you can really get a robust message out there organically by just doing a great job.
Yeah. I mean, well, part of it is I often say this when it's usually with the food franchises where they describe their menu. I'm like, that's the marketing. It's just like you want to talk about how good the food was.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of it is the experience that people have, and then I'm going to talk about it. And I want to talk about community and how you bring people into the franchise as an owner and what that means to them from a community point of view, both the business community alongside them and the community of people, like their friends, family, everybody they know, everywhere they go. How do you prepare them? And I think it links back to what you're saying is that ultimately, like if I'm, for instance, let's say there's a couple thousand families in your sphere close to your gym. These are the ones you want to try to get closer to. These are the ones you want to be, whether it's a Facebook post or a message or something, you just want that small group of people that are near you to be connected to you on social media, to make it more personalized, to add to that personal live experience. And I think that's more of the focus, right? It's just using Facebook the way we might do it personally, right?
Sure.
It's kind of an extension of that, more so than mastering Facebook ads. And anybody that has dabbled with traffic like myself, it just, I mean, I think they change it 400 times a year or something. They're always changing it. So yeah, you don't want to be worried about that as a business owner. So tell me a little bit about how do you prep them to become this beacon of the community, right? You want to partner with other businesses, you want to get the word out there, but it's very much organic, like you said. So what goes into that?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff around community events, so when you talk about like co-op partnerships of organizing events, like we have one this Saturday at a location that's not too far from where I live, that they have an array of local businesses that are going to be a part of this morning event on a Saturday morning. It's 9 to noon, and they're all going to be showcasing different services that they do. When the taco trucks come and giving the tacos away, we got a dunk tank, and so you're weaving in those partners and supporting each other at the end of the day. So doing stuff like that consistently is definitely part of it. Sponsoring youth sports programs, baseball, football, softball, volleyball, whatever it is in that town, and giving back to the kids, supporting the families, I think is a very effective way to, show support. And then in return, a lot of times you get that support back. So we're very active with youth sports, high school sports, just in a way to really penetrate and show that we're involved. So those are kind of two cornerstone ways. And then all the blocking and tackling stuff you'd see with the Chamber of Commerce and being active there and just being out there, rolling up your sleeves and meeting people and shaking hands. And, that's stuff that a Facebook ad can't do, right? Like you can only put so much in a reel or a clip or a static post. But when you're out there doing the work and having your team do the work, not only a franchisee, but their team and their trainers, and you have that kind of army or that team that's out there doing it, that can be really contagious really quick. And that's some of our best locations have that recipe going really strong.
That's awesome. I'm just thinking about like owning a franchise like a fitness brand is kind of an honor in a sense. I mean, it really gives you a conduit to your community. Like I'm not that. I'm the virtual guy that no one would know existed, right? So and sometimes I kind of wish I was more the other guy. Like I could see where I would like doing that. But I was just thinking, you could sponsor a baseball team, a little league baseball team, or any kind of sport, and just go and film 5 minutes of that and post that. That's the marketing you should be doing. Just that organic. I'm out there, we're interacting, and it's relevant. It's all us. It's our community, and I think those platforms are great to extend that. But you got to that's the focus, not the platform. That's good stuff.
100%. Yeah, we try to be the local hub of of support, of encouragement, we should be the best part of their day, right? If they're having a bad day, they come to our club, they should leave and they should feel great.
Yeah,
so
no doubt.
Stay focused there, momentum's built from that.
Exactly. It totally does. And so a little bit about the leaving feeling good. I've heard that. So like, tell me a little bit about the equipment that you've installed. Any thoughts there? I feel like that's evolving, like that we keep learning things and new methods of feeling better and recovering faster. Tell me a little bit about how you think of that whole side of it.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. We've been at it a while. So a lot of people come to a gym because they want to exercise, right? They want to work out. And so we have all the basic stuff you would need to work out, right? Strength equipment, free weights, cardio equipment to get a good workout in whatever it is, 45 minutes to an hour. What we've tried to do over the years is really put together programming that makes it last, makes it sticky, makes it social, makes it fun. So whether that's our personal training department or small group training or our Group X classes, we want to have an array of services that appeals to, most people, where they can come and get a variety of different ways to exercise. But then, what we've learned over the years is, kicking somebody's butt in the weight room or on a treadmill over the long haul isn't fun forever, right? So you want to make sure that they feel good, and they have ways to recover and restore themselves and are educated in that way. So, really hot topic in the industry is obviously recovering and wellness and different techniques around biohacking and some of those things. So we've been able to weave into our facilities are on average about 10,000 square feet. So we have these 2,000 square foot dedicated spaces in our locations that just focus on that, like recovery and relaxing and restoring their bodies. So, and it's everything from infrared saunas to cold plunge therapy to red light, automated massage chairs, Theraguns, Normatec boots, active stretch sessions with a trainer. So all these things into a program can really, we'll have members that just come up and just do that, on certain days, which is great, which is should be part of a total wellness routine. So we're having a lot of success with that. We just started installing that a couple of years ago, and that's going really well. So, we're super excited about it. I'm a junkie, so I'm in there at one of our locations using it pretty consistently myself.
The ex-athlete, right? Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I'm shocked you're using your stuff. No, but I can remember back to the 90s, right? And in my earlier years of working out, I'm probably in better shape now in my older years. But anyway, I remember that was one of my top questions for gyms. So I'm like, do you have a sauna? Do you have a steam room? Do you have and back then it was like, yeah, if you had it, it was good. If you didn't, some places didn't. But it wasn't like, I'm like, you're not understanding. This is like, I get everybody else has the equipment. I want that. Like, so
you were ahead of the times.
Yeah. So it's beautiful because I do think that's right. I mean, there are days where you would just like to go chill out and do maybe some work on the other side of the training, and that can help. So another reason to go, another reason to interact and get more value. And tell me a little bit about the model. I know we talk a lot. For those that are listening that don't fully understand the business model of a fitness business, can you break it down a little bit? Like if I'm going to go ahead and start this business, how does that look? I mean, what am I going to need to put into that? What kind of folks are you looking for from that point of view? And then, how does it look as you build it up? What does that horizon look like? And why would I invest? Why would I dive in from a financial point of view? How does that look?
Yeah, so we have, we're a full-blown franchise system. So we have a pretty robust FDD, a franchise disclosure document that sums up a lot of the details within it. At a high level, our average store is right around that 10,000 square feet. We're focused in pretty strategic markets. And we have, what I would classify as a full-service fitness center that has everything you would see in, a lot of fitness centers throughout the country, with a big focus on programming and results and connecting with the customer. Right. And that's some of the ancillary things that I mentioned that for a franchisee really do drive a lot of extra revenue and profitability for the location. So we get you a membership because that's what everybody comes in for. And then we're pretty successful at getting a certain number of customers then to do something that's going to really help get results and stick with their program, whether that's training with the trainer, small group training, group exercise, relax and restore, something that makes it a little bit more sticky for them and makes them stick it with for the long term. And for the franchisee, it makes the location drive more revenue, so that they're profitable quicker, right? That ramp up time, that average cost per customer, instead of being that $35 or $39 for a membership, goes up in times 2 for that customer. So that's very helpful from the business side of things. So that's
Exactly.
kind of our not our secret sauce, but that's what we work really hard at, that we're pretty good at, is getting that extra ancillary dollar per customer, which at the end of the day helps the customer be more successful anyway. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
was gonna say it's a win-win, not to, interrupt you, but it's a win-win. And in a lot of business models, that's what it's about. If you get results, and they stay longer, they're gonna be with you long term, and that's better for you. And the other thing about it is, again, with any great products, any great services, businesses have to be run well. They have to be good at what they do so they can reinvest in the business that makes it better for me. That's why your business is cool. That's why I want to go to your gym, because you got cool stuff. But if you can't find a way to make the business work, well, that starts to not be the case. And that's why I appreciate that thought process, because it's almost like you can't really give the consumer what they want if you're not good at being a business, making money. You got to be good at making money. And we benefit because of high quality services and affordable at that. So, but anyway, go ahead and finish. You were going to, keep going there.
Yeah, when it comes to, just to that point exactly, when it comes to like who we're looking for, and our business is driven on people, right? Like we need the right people in a location that's doing the right things. So for us, attracting, like we say it often, and internally, like we'll grow at the pace that we can attract great leadership that is excited about what we're doing as much as we are, right? So because that in itself, putting those type of team members in the business ownership as a franchisee with our process around them really does create a lot of synergy and success. So, but without that right recipe, it really can be challenging. So we're really focused on the right people, join the brand, and excited about growing at that pace that we can attract those folks.
Yeah, exactly. So with that a little bit, I do want to kind of make sure we sort of wrap up with you giving some good advice for people that might be considering moving into the franchise business, especially fitness. But just in turn, I had a quick question, just what you were saying. And I think this is true of a lot of franchise brands and leaders in franchise brands like yourself. So like, really, it's about like, let's make sure the tribe is good. And there's a certain, I don't know if you can give any specifics to this, but is there a certain KPI or something you need to look at before you say, we're going to grow at this pace as long as this is okay over here? And that's like what you said, is like, we want to make sure we got the right people, so we're not rushing. We're also making sure our current people are doing well. So there is that sort of controlled growth, because I know in franchising, you could probably grow a lot faster than you basically might choose to, right? And it's based on different things. And I'm just wondering, what is your take on growth, and how do you manage that and decide how fast or how slow to grow?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. You see it, and we've been involved in other franchise brands as franchisees and area developers. So we've seen it from all sides, right? And you got to be conscious of it. I think for any system, like understanding the leadership team that's running that system is very important. And I think, looking at a business at a high level, making sure that it's you love the day-to-day activity, as you mentioned earlier, like the day in the life. Could I see myself doing it as an important component? As we think about grow, we've been at it, 22, 23 years now. We have 18 locations and growing. So for us, it's pretty like slow and steady, proof in the pudding. Like we literally built them ourselves, got them profitable, and sold them. Like we one step in front of the other over the course of 2 decades is what we've been doing. So we feel really good that we're primed up and we have a good concrete foundation for more rapid growth at this point. So hence our new markets that we're doing in Florida and South Carolina and Tennessee and Colorado. We have some exciting things going there with some franchisee partners that have been 2 decades in the making for us. So we're super stoked about that and feel like we're ready. The corporate team's ready. But you have to be conscious of it. And, we don't want to open up 25 locations next year. We think we should open up 10, right? And help the franchisees get up and running, get them trained, help train their team, and get them profitable. And from there, and we want them to be excited about doing location 2 and 3. For us, that's more rewarding than going out and finding 200 individual franchisees that want to get into fitness. So it's really the right partners in the right markets doing the right things is really how we think about it. And as we explore brands as investors, even like those are some of the things you want to think about, because you can't get over your skis in this business. And selling 200 territories sounds exciting, but then you got to get those 200 open. You got to help those 200 people get successful, and you're married to those 200 franchise agreements for a long period of time. So, we really do take the approach like we're in it with them and we want to help be successful. It's that whole team mentality.
Yeah. No, and I love asking that question 100 different ways because it all comes out with the right answer, which I would say, for everybody I've interviewed, it's been the right answer. But, it's the idea that you're in it together. You're in it together. And when you start a business by yourself without a franchise, you're not in it together with anyone. Or if you buy into something else, most other scenarios where you make money, you're in it by yourself. And the beautiful thing about franchising, it is a sort of balancing of, we're putting, first of all, the end user client, that's the vision. We want to make an impact to the world. But then we want to take care of our franchisees who are entrepreneurial folks that came over and wanted to do this with their life and their heart and their maybe their life savings on some level, right?
Yeah.
And so but you as the brand say, we can't succeed without them. So there's just no way to do that very long. Like you might get away with it for maybe a year. And then that thing comes back at you, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful balance because it really should just be, let's make sure everybody's okay and everybody benefits in every market. And so I'm in Colorado. Where are you guys at? I'm in the Colorado Springs. Where are you guys going to be?
So we'll be we have a franchisee that's be getting open up there in Castle Rock, Colorado. So just a little bit
Awesome.
far, not too far.
No. It would be, anything else wouldn't be an option. Well, I could swing by. I wouldn't go there to work out. I'm a little too far, but It is the next city other than, there's a small suburb, but it's the next city between Denver and here. So
we'll see if we can make our way down to you.
Definitely. I would almost guess you'll be down here if you get there, if you get that open. So this is definitely a fitness culture here. We need some good stuff. So we always need more.
Yeah. I love Colorado Springs. Yeah. I got some family out there. Beautiful out there.
Yeah. Love it too. Well, listen, any final thoughts, any advice that you give somebody who's thinking about reaching out or maybe, figuring this out? Any final advice for them? And then also, could you share the best way to get a hold of you guys if they do want to engage?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think, my quick tip I'd give for anybody interested in getting into franchise or business ownership in general is just really make sure that you love what you're going to do. Like you have a real passion for it because it's not always easy, right? It's a lot of times it's hard work, it's sacrifice, it's commitment, it's working through the hard times. And I feel blessed to have found something early in my career that I really love to do to kind of endure those tough times that let us come out the other end of it. So I think for anybody, regardless of whether it's fitness or anything, right? Pest control, at-home services, make sure you have a real passion and excitement for it. And I think if you do, you'll be successful at it around the right system.
Yeah.
And for us, the best way to get a hold of us is, right on our website. You can find us at fitnesspremierclubs.com. And I really appreciate you having me on today, Rob. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to have you back. You're going to keep growing. We're going to see where some of this tech goes. I'm still really curious about AI and it's just going to change everything. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It'll affect everybody. Sure. But I know you guys will be thinking about the ways that you might implement different technology, but I just love the way you're approaching things, man. I do. I know that, again, the temptation to grow differently, right? I think that you're basically, if everybody didn't hear it, I hear integrity on your team. I hear you care about doing business right and taking care of people all the way down to your customers and members. And that's what I heard today. And I appreciate you for that because you open up a platform and an opportunity for so many, right? And I love the industry. And that's why I talk to you guys. And people have to pay attention. I think there's a lot more purpose and meaning, even in the challenges, right? Even if it's hard. It's probably better to grind through that and come out on the other side, in my opinion. And I just love that franchising is about all of us together. And I feel like we make a pretty big impact to the economy so I appreciate you for that. So
well, thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Well, again, welcome. Thank you to the audience for tuning in today. Jason, I definitely want you back. And it was great to have you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.